students, in this class, let us discuss how to construct ogive curves. The smooth curve drawn for cumulative frequencies is called ogive curves. So, ogive curve is always related to cumulative frequencies. When frequencies are added, we get cumulative frequencies. So, there are two types of cumulative frequencies. One is less than cumulative frequency and the other one is more than cumulative frequency. And therefore, there are two types of ogive curves. One is less than ogive curve and other one is more than ogive curves. First, we have to learn about the meaning of less than ogive curve. The smooth curve drawn for corresponding to less than cumulative frequency and upper class boundaries or upper class limits is called less than ogive curve. The smooth curve drawn corresponding to upper class boundary and less than cumulative frequency is called less than ogive curve. Therefore, while constructing less than ogive curve, upper class boundaries are taken on x axis and less than cumulative frequencies are taken on y axis, and corresponding to a class boundary and cumulative frequency, the points are marked and all the points are joined by a smooth freehand curve. Then we get less than ogive curve. Less than ogive curve is an increasing curve. And next, we study about more than ogive curve. A smooth curve drawn for more than cumulative frequencies and lower class boundaries is called more than ogive curve. The smooth curve drawn corresponding to lower class boundary and more than cumulative frequency is called more than ogive curve. So, for constructing more than ogive curve, lower class boundaries are taken on x axis and more than cumulative frequencies are taken on y axis, and corresponding to lower class boundary and more than cumulative frequency, the points are marked and all the points are joined by a smooth freehand curve to get more than ogive curve. Ogive curves can be drawn for both discrete frequency distribution and for continuous frequency distribution. Let us take an example how to construct less than ogive and more than ogive. The question is gives the weekly wages of 80 workers in a factory. Draw both the ogive curve. Both the ogive curve means less than ogive curve and more than ogive curve. So we have to draw less than ogive curve and more than ogive curve. And the data given is weekly wages rupees, and it is given in a group, that is class intervals are given and number of workers. So weekly wages rupees, it is a group in class interval, and the frequency, number of workers means frequencies are given. It is a continuous frequency distribution because here there are class intervals, and to draw less than ogive curve we are required to ascertain less than cumulative frequency, and to draw more than ogive curve we are required to ascertain the more than cumulative frequencies. See how to ascertain these frequencies. Next we are calculating less than cumulative frequencies and more than cumulative frequencies. First, ascertain the less than cumulative frequency and more than cumulative frequency. So draw 4 columns. One is for class interval, and this is for weekly wages. Next, for frequency, number of workers, that means it indicates frequency. And in next column we have to calculate less than CF, that is cumulative frequency, and in fourth column we are calculating more than CF, that is more than cumulative frequencies. When frequencies are added we get cumulative frequency. So the first 5, the total is 5. Next 5 plus 8, 13, 13 plus 12, 25, 25 plus 15, 40, 40 plus 20, 60 plus 10, 70 plus 6, 76 plus 4, 80. So there are 80 workers, and for ascertaining less than cumulative frequency we have to add frequencies from lower, from in increasing order, that is from top to bottom. Sorry, we have to add frequencies from top to bottom. And for ascertaining more than cumulative frequency we have to add frequencies from bottom to top. That means first we have to take 80. Sorry, first more than CF is 4, and in the problem, sorry, please observe in the problem 55 60, in the class interval 55 to 60, by mistake it is printed as 8 workers, but make it correction, make a small correction, and you have to, instead of 8 you have to write 4. So we have to add frequencies from bottom to top. So for ascertaining more than cumulative frequency, first take 4 plus 6, 10, 10 plus 10, 20, 20 plus 20, it is 40, 40 plus 15, 55, 55 plus 12, 60, 7, 67 plus 8, indicates less than CF and more than CF. Less than is always related to upper class boundary. That is less than 25, there are 5 workers. Less than 30. Less than 30 indicates 0 to 30. So 5 plus 8, there are 13 workers. Less than 30, there are 13 workers. Less than 35, the person who are getting wages, the workers who are getting wages less than rupees 35. Less than 35 indicates 0 to 35. So all these 3 workers grouped under less than 35. So we have to add all these 3 workers. So 30 plus 12, 25. There are 25 workers who are getting wages less than 35, and like this we have to ascertain more than CF. More than is related to lower class boundary. Less than is related to upper class boundary, but more than CF is related to lower class boundary. So first is more than 55. More than 55 indicates above 55, or in 55 to 60 there are 4 workers. Next, more than 50. More than 50 means 50 above and up to 60. 4 and 6 workers grouped under more than 50. So we have to add 4 plus 6. More than 50 wage, the workers who are getting more than rupees 50 wages are 10 workers, because 4 plus 6, 10 workers. So we have to go on adding from bottom to top. First 4 plus 6, 10, 10 plus 10, 20. Like this we have to calculate the more than CF. And for drawing less than ogive curve, we have to, on x axis we have to mark all upper class limits, or these are called upper class boundaries, and less than CF cumulative frequencies. Corresponding to these 2 figures, we have to mark a point, or we have to plot a point, and all the points are joined to get the less than ogive curve. Likewise, on x axis lower class boundaries are taken, and more than CF lower class boundaries are taken on x axis, and more than CF are taken on y axis, and corresponding to these figures, if points are marked and all the points are joined to get the more than ogive curve. Let us construct the first less than ogive curve and next more than ogive curve. For construction of less than ogive curve, take upper class boundaries on x axis and less than cumulative frequency on y axis, and here the proper scale is 1 centimeter is equal to 10 workers on y axis. 1 centimeter is equal to 10 workers on y axis, and 1 centimeter is equal to 5 rupees, wages 5 rupees on x axis. And here 25 to 30, 25, 30, 35, 40, these are upper class limits. So upper class limits or upper class boundaries are taken on x axis, and corresponding to these corresponding to upper class boundary and less than CF, we have to mark the points. So the first point is 25, less than 25 there are 5 workers. Less than 25 there are 5 workers. 5 is in between 0 to 10. Less than 5. Next, less than 30 there are 13 workers. Next we have to mark 13. Next, less than 35, there are 25 workers. Next, in between 20 and 30, there is 25. So, next is 25. Next is 40. Next cumulative frequency is 40. It is for less than 40. So, corresponding to 40 and frequency is also 40. We have to mark this point. We have to mark the point. Next, 45 and cumulative frequency is 60. Less than 45, there are 60 workers. So 45 comes in between 40 and 50. Next, 60 workers. Sorry, 40. Next, less than 45, there are 60 workers. Sorry, we have to mark 60 cumulative frequency for less than 45. Next is 70. Less than class boundary is 50 and less than CF is 70. So corresponding to 50 and 70, we have to mark the point. And next, less than CF is 76 for 55. So for 55, it is 76. Next is 80. For 80, less than CF is for 60 upper class boundary. Then 80. So here we have marked the points corresponding to upper class boundary. We have marked points corresponding to upper class boundary and less than CF. And next we have to join all these points by a free hand curve to get less than CF. So it is less than ogive curve. And less than and more than ogive curves are constructed also to find median, quartiles, deciles, etc. Observe, it is an increasing curve. So always less than ogive curve is called, it is in increasing order, so it is called increasing curve. Next we have to draw more than ogive curve. For construction of more than ogive curve, take lower class boundaries on x-axis. So here 20, 25, 30, these are the lower class boundaries. Take these values on x-axis, and on y-axis take all the more than cumulative frequencies. So more than cumulative frequencies are taken on y-axis, and the proper scale is 10 workers, 1 centimeter is equal to 10 workers on y axis, and 1 centimeter is equal to 5 rupees wages, 5 rupees wages on x axis. So corresponding to lower class boundary and more than cumulative frequency, you have to mark the points. First, here more than 20, there are 80 workers. So more than 20, here there are 80 workers. Next, more than 25, there are 75 workers. More than 25, there are 75 workers. In between 70 and 80, it is 75. So mark the points for all the lower class boundary with more than CF. Next, we have to mark for 35 and 67. Sorry, for 30 and 67. It indicates more than 30, there are 25 workers. So more than 30, there are 67 workers. 67 comes here, corresponding to it is 30. Next, 55 workers. Next value is 55 workers. It is for 35. Next is 40 workers. 40 workers for 40. Next, 20 workers for 45. Next, 10 workers for 50. Last, 4 more than CF or 4 workers for more than 55. More than 55, we have to mark 4. So we have to join all these points by a free hand curve. This is more than ogive curve, and less than ogive curve and more than ogive curves are also used for calculating median, that is middlemost value. Next, quartiles. Quartile is a partition value which divides the series into 4 parts. So these ogive curves are used to find quartiles. Next, deciles are also calculated. Deciles are also the partition values which divide the series or data into 10 equal parts. So these ogive curves are used to calculate median, quartiles, deciles also. And more than ogive curve is called a decreasing curve because it is decreasing in order. So more than ogive curve is a decreasing curve. Up to this, we have discussed in the second unit, that is diagrammatic and graphic representation. We have studied 5 types of diagrams: simple bar diagram, component bar diagram, percentage bar diagram, multiple bar diagram, and pie diagram. These are the 5 types of diagrams we have discussed previously, and also we have studied 4 types of graphs. The first one is histogram, next frequency polygon, next frequency curve, and last fourth one is ogive curve. And you now you are required to study more problems or construct these diagrams and graphs by taking previous exam question papers. And if you have any doubts or problems, we have already given you a time for approaching the concerned subject teacher. You may come to college and clear the problems or doubts and study carefully, study all the problems, and you also need to carefully observe and make the points right. Make a separate book for all the important points